right. Well, I hope that you can hear me well. Good afternoon, everybody. Really happy to be here with you today. We are now traveling from Brazil and Latin America to the GCC with our two speakers that we're really happy to have with us today. And I will let you introduce yourself briefly. This panel is about the GCC and the Gulf region and the business opportunities for French companies. As you may know, the GCC is probably one of the last booming region when we talk about business and economic opportunities for French companies worldwide. And the idea of this panel is maybe to get more insight from our experts on what is going on, actually, because we're talking about a lot of money. We're talking a lot about giga projects and so on, but maybe what's behind the scene and to what extent today this market can really be an opportunity for French companies. So before we start, maybe Barbara, I can let you introduce yourself and then Laurent, please.
Yes, sure. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me here. My name is Barbara Riccardi. I am the regional CEO for the Natixis CIB activities in the Middle East, so based in Dubai. And out of there, we do cover the whole of GCC, as well as Egypt, Turkey, and Central Asia and South Caucasus.
Okay, my name is Laurent Vigier. I'm the executive chairman of Five Capital, which is a private equity fund sponsored by Bpifrance and GCC investors, in particular Saudi investors. And our investment mandate is to invest cross-border between France, Europe, and the GCC, in particular Saudi Arabia.
Thanks a lot. And so, Barbara, we'll start with you, actually. In this ever-evolving landscape of global business, the GCC has emerged as a hub for growth and opportunity, and it is today a prime destination, as I was saying, for businesses that are looking to expand. According to you, what are the main factors of success for this economic transformation in the recent years?
Thank you very much. So indeed, we had been in the Middle East now for since 2006, but we've been looking after the region even prior to that. I must admit that since then, we grew from a team of 10 to a team of 65, covering across all of the business line that the CIB activities, so the corporate investment banking activities, can offer. And what we see was an incredible transformation in terms of the role that the Middle East is now playing in the global environment. So obviously, it started as an oil and gas producing, region, countries, and yet they are the drivers of the transformation about transition out of purely oil and gas. And this became a necessity really during COVID, because they realized that not only there was a disruption in the whole supply chain, the trades globally, but also there was a big issue with oil price going down and affecting dramatically their ability to be profitable and continue a sustainable development. So they needed to diversify, and what makes them really valuable, what makes them strong and effective is the willpower, politically speaking. I mean, again, the benefit of having one leadership with decision-making power is there. So clearly, decision is taken and is implemented. There is obviously the resources. I'm not talking only natural resources. I'm also talking about generally in terms of capital, in terms of people, and in terms of ability to attract resources in terms of human capital from all over the place. I mean, look at us. I'm Italian, it's French industries, French players, international players are all present there. And I think last but not least is also the ability to adapt and utilize what they see as happening and as efficient in the world quickly into the local environment. So it's a very fast pace and fast implementation region, and that means investments are happening. That they're not just talked about, but they do happen. So anyone looking at the region, seeing that by putting the foot on the ground, all of a sudden things happen, they get interested, they get attracted, so that there is a track record that is now building over the years. And if you look at today, you know, also the Middle East is house of the largest sovereign wealth fund. So we are looking in terms of capacity, power, not just to attract investment, but to invest abroad is really, you know, a second to none.
And so talking about the sovereign funds, as you were saying, the region is probably mainly famous also for this heavy investment capacity throughout the years. Laurent, can you tell us a little bit more about the key role of these sovereign funds actually?
Well, the GCC countries were the first to create sovereign wealth funds. You see, the first sovereign wealth fund established in the world was a sovereign wealth fund of Kuwait, which was established in 1953. ADIA, the fund of Abu Dhabi, which is over 1 trillion AUM now, was established in 1976. So the region is probably, with Asia, the most important in the world for this accumulation of sovereign money. The big shift, which is in line with what Barbara just described, is that in the past 5 to 10 years, the focus of the sovereign wealth funds has shifted inbound. Initially, the sovereign wealth funds were basically instruments for diversification. They invested purely for return all over the world, and in particular in the US and in Europe, but more in the US than in Europe. And now you see the sovereign wealth funds in the GCC are more and more inward bound. It started with Mubadala, with also pioneering the diversification of the UAE. But now even if you look at the PIF, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, 70% of its investment are in Saudi Arabia, and more and more. And this is really, it's exemplify the priority and the sense of urgency of this region to transform and to diversify away from oil and gas. Because they benefit from geopolitical tension and high prices of oil and gas, but they see also that in the US, alternative fossil energies, they see renewable energy in Europe, and so they know that it's not going to be forever. So they have a window of opportunity to diversify, and all the resources now, most of the resources are oriented towards this diversification. And this is an element we need to factor.
And so talking about diversification, as you were saying, that this idea and this ambition of trying to leave the oil and gas economy and trying to develop new opportunities, from a Natixis point of view, to what extent this diversification strategy can become a real business opportunities for new tech providers or new corporates in the region?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might sound a little strange that a country which is an oil producer as majority is actually such a strong and main player into the transition globally. But it does happen. And I think at Natixis, we have always been very careful in investment because we wanted to make sure that whatever we do is sustainable. So when we made statements about, wanting to commit to net zero, etc., we always have to make sure that we follow through with actions that do happen and can be measurable. And when looking at the Middle East, you can take it two ways. Either you look at the massive growth that has happened on the renewable space. Middle East is the place where there is the lowest, solar power as well as wind power tariff in the world. So because of the investment that has been happening to date. But also you can look at it from the opposite side of the spectrum, because by investing into renewable, obviously you are contributing to green, and we're all clear about that. But the real polluters are the oil and gas producers. So those are the guys that need to drive the transition. And those are the player that need to commit to changing. And how do they change? Obviously, there will need still to be oil and gas. I mean, nobody can say that this is going to happen and stop tomorrow. So it needs to be into transition. And what do? They obviously invest in alternative energy. So you see, for example, the likes of Aramco, ADNOC making statements about green hydrogen, carbon capture, sulfur capture, all of that is happening and they're driving it. At the same time, they diversify their investments. So you see them investing themselves in green, in sustainable, so that they can actually contribute outside of their standard oil and gas. And again, the cash that they are using is then reinvested into the country in non-oil and gas projects. And there is a clear commitment made. It's happening, and that's where, you know, from a banking perspective, and I think not just Natixis, but many other competitors and peers are really following this through, because we see we can be part of it. And I think what we see is also French communities, French companies, French technology providers are very highly regarded in the region. The likes of Mubadala, you know, they're always looking into investing into new startups, especially in the green hydrogen technology. France is advanced compared to all the other countries in the world, and they're trying to bring it into, you know, into the region. So it is happening, and we see the results. We see, you know, we just financed the largest green hydrogen power plant in the world in Saudi Arabia, and this again was done, you know, with the intention to then greenify the economy and export it outside. So. As I said, they are actually putting their money, they are walking the talk.
And you were saying, Barbara, that there is a clear commitment and that it is happening. And maybe one of the main markets today in the region that has been clearly one of the leaders when we are talking about no slowing down, it's the KSA. We have seen a lot of giga projects throughout the years. Maybe, Laurent, could you tell us a little bit more, because you were talking about the PIF actually, and I think the PIF has a quite central role in that, in the KSA. Could you tell us a little bit more about the structure of these giga projects, and also what are the main challenges facing?
Well, the first country in the region that has emerged on the global, landscape for tourism, for people who wanted to live in the region, which was not, you see, for a long time, people didn't want to accept it working in the oil and gas. People didn't want to live in the region. Now, the first country that's emerged were the UAE, and in particular Dubai. And Dubai has emerged, and more after the COVID crisis, as really a place where people want to go. And Dubai is clearly a model for the transformation of the other big player in the region, much bigger than the UAE, that is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a rich country, but its economy was, let's say, to be polite, underperforming in non-oil and gas sector. And so it was not sustainable. And so the idea was that, based on the model of Dubai, to diversify the economy of this country, to make it attractive. And the first rationale of this big project was to put Saudi Arabia on the map, but in a different manner. Now, if I say NEOM, if I say Trojena, if I say the Red Sea project, you see, if I say Halula, people, even people who are not working in this region, who are not knowing about this region, they say, okay, I've heard about this. I've heard about this somewhere. I've seen maybe some photos, some pictures. I may even consider one day going there. You see, when first time I went in Saudi Arabia, you had to wait for a visa. If you were not performing the Umrah or the Hajj, it was really something not a standard destination. So putting Saudi Arabia on the map in a different manner. Now the projects are just huge, and they are transformational in many ways. First, they create this big project, are rebalancing the economy of this country. They're modernizing Riyadh, they're modernizing Jeddah, the big city on the Red Sea. You see just a couple of days ago, they just advertised that they're starting again the construction of the highest tower in the world, the Kingdom Tower in Jeddah, which is going to be over 1 kilometer high. Direct challenge to Dubai. But there's also the project of NEOM. NEOM, you see, you can see NEOM as a fantastic project. Some people are going to say it's a dream, and dream not ever happen. But when you see the location of NEOM, it's Saudi Arabia rebalancing its economy on the Red Sea, so on the corridor of the Belt and Road Initiative. 13% of the world traffic, maritime traffic, is going there through the Red Sea, through the Suez Canal. So it's really strategically positioned. And if you look at Saudi Arabia, it's 35 million people. But if you look at all the country around the Red Sea, it's 200 or 300 million people around the Red Sea. So it means that they start to think in a different perspective. And for us, Europeans, it's challenging because we have to change our perception about this region, about this country, but you need also to factor the fact that we are not in a chasse gardée anymore. You see, it's not only the European and the American. Now it's more and more the Chinese. It's the Koreans. It's the Russians who are there. So this country is really now, you see, it's not anymore, not anymore part of the backwater of the US or Europe. It's now a member of the BRICS. And the transformation, either we are part of it or we are going just to be sidelined. And the sovereign wealth fund play a key role in that. So we are obliged to work with the sovereign wealth funds because they really spearhead a new mapping of the players. You see, the old players have not been, the families have not been pushed away completely. They have reinvented themselves. But now there's new player. You see the sovereign wealth fund, also they seed companies in every sectors. So you have in Saudi Arabia a PIF company dedicated to tourism, a PIF company dedicated to waste management, a PIF company dedicated to mining. And if you want to enter this market, basically you need, in a way or another, to work with these new players. And not to say, okay, I have my project. I see some French companies say, okay, I have a fantastic project. I'm going to present this project to Saudi investors. They're going to buy it. They're going to fund it. No. Start thinking about what they are looking for, what they need, what are their demand to succeed in diversification of their economy. What are we going to bring to them in terms of expertise, in terms of local content, in terms of empowerment of local management? These are the key factors of success.
Actually, on this one, if I may add, I think there's been also a big change in terms of culture. I remember first time I went to Saudi myself in 2010. It was a very different place. You know, I had to obviously cover and so on. I wasn't really allowed in the same room with the male colleagues. I had to, you know, I could ask questions, but I wasn't really talked to or talked at as an answer. So as an Italian proud woman, it was a little tough at the start, I must admit. Today is another world completely. The transformation from a cultural perspective that took place is incredible. You know, everybody's welcome. There really has been a massive change. And what you were mentioning about the desire of the country to import not just you know, know-how, but also being able to then utilize it and localize. Because if they want to make it happen, they cannot rely like in the UAE where the population is very small. Local population in UAE, you have 1.5 million people over 6 together. I mean, in Saudi, you're talking about 35 million people. And they need to find an output. They need to find work opportunities. They need to find place to go as tourists. So there is plenty that they need to be able to do and grow into. So they have to know how it works elsewhere so that they can use it internally. And they do have, as I said, you know, they have, in terms of the economic power, the willingness, and the commitment to do so. So I think it's what we see more and more is the desire of our clients to import knowledge, know-how, manufacturing capacity. You know, there's plenty of MOUs that have been signed now with all countries in the world to really get local, you know, expertise so that they can do it themselves. And I guess it's an opportunity for the rest of the world. It's not so much of a competition, rather an opportunity, because today growth won't come from Europe. And so that's a great investment opportunity. It needs to be done carefully, obviously, because the ambition is huge. If you look at Vision 2030, obviously is very, very big. And the pace of the world doesn't always go in the same direction. So some things will happen, some others will happen slower, and some won't. So you need to identify where to go to make sure that there is a right opportunity. But I think overall I mean, as an institution, I think as a debt provider as well as an equity provider, I think it's a fantastic place to be.
Well, thanks a lot, Barbara. Thanks a lot, Laurent. I see that we only have 20 seconds left, so we still have plenty of questions. But thanks a lot for your insights and for sharing your expertise. it's a competitive market, but from what I get, it's not only about money. It's also about how to really structure your strategy to go over there. Finding the right partner also, I think, is really important, and also adapt a lot. Thanks a lot once again, and if you have some questions, do not hesitate. They are here also to discuss with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.